Oh my God, this is a bit embarrassing.
Why?
There were so many things in today that really, what you said have really spoken to me. But the one that just made me go, oh no, was when you said about using tech to mute your inner voice.
Yeah.
And like, I'll have a really good day. I'll go off and do all the things I want to do. And then I sit down and it's late afternoon, early evening. And it's like, I've got all these things that I plan to do in the evening and I just can't do them. And I just sit down and look at Instagram and then half an hour later, it's like, oh no. And then, oh, what am I going to do now? Oh, the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I hate it, but do you have any tips for what
Absolutely, I do. Because I've been there and I do that. So something that's really interesting that actually very much inspired me is about a month and a half ago, my husband said to me, he said, I deleted Instagram off my phone. And I said, what? And he goes, I'm really happy in my life. Why do I need to watch other people live theirs? And I said, whoa, like, yeah, it was like a mic drop moment of like, wow. And he sometimes will be like, anything happening on Instagram? Did I miss anything? And I'm like, honestly, no. But as someone who I think social media has this place, I remember there was this study done with this generation that we find ourselves in that is always so connected. And people would rather be shocked every 5 seconds than to live without their phone. And hearing that realization and seeing the statistics that we pick up our phone like hundreds of times a day and we use it kind of like a pacifier. Like, I'm in toddler stage. So you think of a pacifier, the baby wants to cry, you stick the pacifier in. That's what our phones have become for us. So one of the best things that we have done in our house is we have this really old chest and it has a drawer in it. And my husband wired it so that it has a charging cable. It's like a docking station. All of our devices have to live inside of that station. They don't live on the counter. They don't live on the table. They don't live in our pockets. They don't live on our hands. They stay in that docking station. And the funny thing is that the drawer is really squeaky. So if somebody goes into it, you hear it and you're like, what are you doing? What do you need? Nothing's going on. And so we started to create boundaries like that in that sense, because we recognize that we all really struggle with it. I mean, let's be honest, like this generation, we can't even go to the bathroom without having our phones with us, right? Like that's a problem. And so what I think is so interesting is that when we think about using our devices and the media and TV and all these things almost as a way to numb, there's something deeper in there that we're avoiding, right? There's something that we're really trying to ignore, and we're turning up the world's volume and like turning down our ability to even think. I've done it in absolute seasons of my life, seasons of grief, seasons of just like questioning. But the clearer I get on my own life and think about what my husband said, like, if I'm so happy, why am I looking at everyone else? It really helps to put things in perspective. So one, I would just say, start having like an out of sight, out of mind device idea. And if you live with anyone, have them help you be accountable to it. Like, I'm putting my phone in the drawer, or take my phone and hide it from me for a little while. Because what happens is it's kind of like running when you're like, okay, I'm going to run 3 miles. The first mile sucks. And you're like, there's no way I'm going to finish. And then something happens and you break through. With devices, the first hour or two, you're like, I bet the city burned down and my mom probably called and somebody's having a heart attack and I don't know it because I don't have my phone. And like, the more that you get accustomed to it, the more you realize I didn't miss a dang thing. Nothing happened while I was sleeping. Like, how many of us look at our phones before we go to bed and then look at our phones when we wake up? What do we think was happening? Everyone was sleeping or we should have been sleeping, And so, yeah, I would just say that. The other thing that you can do that's really helpful, there's an app, and I'm not positive it even still exists, but I have it on my phone. It's called Moment, and it tracks your usage on your phone. And now with Apple devices, you can do it inside of your own phone. They've gotten so smart. They just make everything internal now. But you can set limits. So you could say, I can only go on to Instagram for 20 minutes a day, and a limit will pop up. and you don't hit ignore. That's the part you got to say, okay, that's my limit. The time is up. And so things like that, because it starts to just make you conscious. So actually my husband and I, every single week, we pull open each other's phones and we look at our daily usage and we see if it's trending up or down. And I think that opens up enough dialogue right there to say, is there anything going on, or how are you feeling? Or are you stressed about something? And so there are different ways to invite that accountability in. And I think accountability is the hugest piece when it comes to devices. And so I get it though. It's nothing to be apologetic for, because I think we all do it. But I think even just starting with your observation of that and that level of consciousness is going to help you start to rewrite that story about how you're going to be spending your time as you start to move forward. So you're not alone.
Thank you so much, Jenna.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Thanks for your talk. I've never felt like I've grown so much in one session. Just I don't know what they call it, but you fixed so many problems today. Let's see. My questions are, how do you motivate yourself to be by yourself for so long until you can love on others?
Yeah.
Just how do you block that time out?
How do you fill your cup?
Yeah.
Fill your cup, interesting thing. Yeah.
Is it 3 years by yourself, or?
I don't know if there's a specific time frame first, which should be a good thing for all you guys to know. There's not a bubble of time. Here's what I look at. Love is an interesting thing. It's an emotion. Emotions happen in the back end of actions. And I find that when we're going into the world, like, I want this thing, like, what we really have to do is give the actions to love ourselves. So when you want to go find the place to get to the internal positive, what I've found is going to, how deep and how consistent can you give the actions to where when you look back at the person in the mirror, like, you love them. And this is what I found it looks like: doing hard things. Like, there's something specific and beautiful about fitness as this connection to people and self-love. If you want to look at the world, I would probably venture to say a vast high percentage of people that find themselves in a place of, I love my humanity, I love who I am. It's the individual that started training and started working out, and not for like a six-pack abs or go on a stage, but just because they know that in the middle of that workout, they didn't want to do the extra 2 sets, but they did them. Right. I didn't want to go to the extra mile, but I did. I wanted to quit at 30 seconds, but I got to a minute. Right. And it sounds arbitrary. It sounds very simple, but when you get done and you look in that mirror, like, I don't care if you might have lost no weight, you like that person more because that person, like, you invested as an action into them, and you get this response and feeling of love. Think of it like this. I have kids. A lot of us have kids. When my kid comes out, all they do is poop and cry and eat. They make my life a living hell. It's horrible. My best friend hasn't slept in a year because he has a new baby. And I'm like, how do you have this love for it? Well, because he's giving the actions of love. And if you give the actions of love, you receive the emotion, even if the other entity isn't actually giving it just yet. It's this natural, weird thing that takes place. So the fact that I'm changing diapers and I'm up at 6 a.m, I have this, like, you can feel it. It anchors into your heart of like a love. And so as much I'm talking about as arbitrary, like, child, it's the same for you. You got to do hard things that are past the normal point for yourself, because then you start loving yourself, respecting yourself, and you start showing up for yourself. Now, how long that takes, it's different for everybody. And also, if you get to the point of only focusing on your negatives, it does take a lot longer. So don't look at all the stuff you haven't done, because that's going to always be stuff you haven't done. Start anchoring the things you have done. Dove did a great study years ago and had 2 people come into a room and they would describe themselves. And then one person describes that same person. The person who described themselves always saw an ugly picture. The person describing the other person always saw a beautiful picture. Why? Because we're really good at seeing what we're bad at. So if you get to the point of like doing the actions of love yourself, but also like gratitude's huge. I love you for this. Talking to yourself, I love you for this. Put the energy out there, focus it there, and the energy flows there. You find you get to that positive bubble. I don't know the time frame. Mimi, I wish I knew. I could give you like, hey, go do it for 37 seconds every Wednesday. Doesn't work, but it's going to be a journey for you. But you'll find
I work on projecting good thoughts on others.
Yeah, you can do that. I'm talking about you. Project good thoughts onto you. Like, this isn't because you can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't have this in you, it's hard to give to other people. That's how I felt when my marriage was tanking. I couldn't give to my clients because I had no joy in me. But the moment that you can start giving to you unashamed, like, cut people out of the world, just because if someone gets mad at you for working on you, they don't deserve you. Let me repeat that. If someone gets mad at you for working on you, they do not deserve you. So
I
you
feel
got
like I'm the female Jim Carrey. I've got so many different personalities, and that's what I
you're
can't
human.
stand.
Yeah, you're human. But good question. But spend time on you. You'll find yourself and you love yourself.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
Hi. Your energy is infectious. I've got to say that first. I'm so nervous because I've never asked a question on Growth Day.
Oh, yay, Maria. Let's give her a round of applause for.
It's also a great fear of mine. Public speaking is something that ever since I was a little girl, it was always something that really, really frightened me. And throughout my career, it's always been the big block, the real block. But I wanted to come on today just to say thank you for this session because it's been amazing. I've never done tapping before. I sort of watched a bit of the replay, the last tapping session, but I didn't pay that much attention to it because I was doing the dinner for the kids and there was a lot going on at the same time. But I've come on today and I've practiced everything you've said. And I started off and I was up there, I was like really high, like a 9. And then I just felt, whoa, this calmness. And I can't believe it. I can't believe after just one go of it, this has had such an effect. So while you were chatting, I've downloaded the app on my phone and I'm going to fill it in straight away. And I'm going to do the whole tapping about why I procrastinate, because I am that person that you were talking about. I'm that person who can't say no. I'm that person who puts everyone else before myself. I'm that person, I'm creating a course, but there's all sorts of blocks in my way. And I put the blocks there because I feel like, what if I'm not good enough? All these things, even though I've got years and years and years of experience in my field, I still have, what if I'm not good enough? And I need to get rid of it because everything you've said is so true. So I just wanted to say thank you. And thank you to BRENDON and his team for doing this Growth Day because it's the most amazing thing. And I started it on New Year's Day and I've not regretted it one bit. I just go from happiness to happiness with it. So thank you.
Sure. Well, Maria, let me touch upon a few things that you said, if it's okay with you. So one thing you mentioned is I am that person. And I am is just the strongest 2 words in the universe. That is your behavior. That is your pattern. And you know what? When you were little, it probably served you. When you were little, it probably was a way to make sure everyone got along and everyone was safe. When you are somebody that feels deeply, especially as a child, it becomes your responsibility to make everyone else happy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's such a common challenge. It's something that I've experienced myself. And the sensitivity, a lot of people think, oh, I wish I was less sensitive. It feels like a curse. It feels like I'm always feeling and taking on everything. But it also makes you, I imagine, really good at what you do because you have the ability to have a certain kind of empathy and a certain kind of intuition because you're really able to know the other person's experience and to help support them through. And so I say that because so oftentimes we get hard on ourselves, like, oh, this is my character default, but there's a light and a shadow to each side. And that side of you that always wants to help other people and is putting yourself last, yes, it is your big heart, and you can honor the good intention of that. And what you can say is when you go to that pattern, instead of being like, oh God, I hate that I'm this way, or I can't believe this, say, I honor the part of me that cares deeply and wants to make other people happy. And I recognize that the best way to serve this world is by being able to take care of myself so I can serve. And so I say that because oftentimes our default is criticism and shame and feeling like we were different. But if we can see that behind all of that behavior is something that did serve us in the past and simply say, this no longer serves me anymore. I appreciate that it served me in the past, but I'm ready for something different. And I also think that this is generational, and I see it very much with women. Our mothers and our grandmothers, they were the martyrs. You were praised by how much you could sacrifice and how much you could give. And by us stopping that pattern, because we're realizing that it's a way that we play small, we are stopping that from future generations. I have a baby girl in my belly right now. I have a toddler sleeping. I have a toddler, but this is my first girl. And so often I think about that. I think about what are the things that I'm going to pass on to her. And as women, us being able to say no and taking time for ourselves is not just about us. It's a movement in consciousness that gives the younger generation an opportunity to truly find their voice and their power. So if you can find that meaning, then when you say no, it's not about you being a bad person. You know that it represents something so much greater, and that can serve you. And then when the anxiety comes up, that's when you can do the tapping to calm your body and let your body know that it is safe for you to say no. I hope that helped.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Congratulations, and I really appreciate it. And I've really overcome such a massive hurdle just by talking on this platform today. So honestly, I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.